We just like to bring a little bit of art in the houses of people who have been missing it. So basically what happened is I was in this isolation for a while, which was nice at the beginning and had some good vacation time more or less. But then after a few weeks, I'm really missing this feeling of getting out there and doing something live and having some really feeling of space and of lights and having some creation time. And then basically after a while I thought, you know what, this is a perfect time to do something like this. My fingers started to itch and I started to get, I needed to create something. And this is really, I think, what a lot of people have the same problem is now they've been at home for a while. People like me in this industry not allowed to create and allowed to work right now. And it came to me one day, like, why not, now that people have time, why don't we do something which we normally can't do and create some kind of art in a location that's normally not available with people who are normally busy and make something special. And this is how Lux Partum was born on this lighting.stream platform, was the idea to create some art that people can enjoy and also interact with at home. Because I think a lot of people are missing exactly what I'm missing, which is being involved with light, with art, with any kind of show at the moment. We found lighting.stream as a platform and we decided to start Lux Partum, which is this project on the lighting.stream platform. And you as a user can go to this platform, you can type your name in, there's no registration or anything, and you can take control of the lights for a few minutes and you can choose the patterns and the colors you'd like and you can see them here performed live in this space. So you can really take your own bit of creativity, apply it to this space and see what the results are. And other people can log in and see what you're doing and then ask themselves, is that what I would like or would I like something different? So it's a great way to actually not just see the art, but actually share it with other people and see what they're doing. And then I hope people really use it and catch on and enjoy a little bit of light creativity in this difficult time of isolation. It was totally clear to me at the beginning, there's no way I can do this alone. Need the right people for something like this. So I made sure to call Lars Morash, Matthias Schiffman and Andy Schindler, which are basically the team. And Matthias took care of all systems programming and backend and web interface. Lars had all the connections for the hall. His equipment is also here. And Andy is in charge of generative visuals and video content. Once we found out that Motorwerk was involved, this is an amazing hall with really special dimensions. And the next step was clear. Okay, we have to use this hall and try not to hide the hall or build something in the hall, but use it. And so we built something along the existing structure. We didn't hang hardly any extra rigging in. We used the existing poles, the columns, and we built stuff that makes sense for this perspective and this scale. So it was a relatively easy installation, and I think it really highlights what the hall has, especially the very high ceilings and these 2 levels and the cool columns. Because when you're in a stream, you have one screen. You're not mobile, you can't look around, and so we want to give the absolute best perspective. And this middle perspective allows us to also play with the geometry of how we built everything. So we can do perspective boxes and lines and everything else, one middle axis. We hardly built any rigging in here. We used everything was here, and we measured the space between the levels to the floor to the ceiling and tried to make a geometric arrangement of lights. So we didn't have that many lights to work with. We used enough to fill each field up with a screen, a beam, on 8 different positions to create basically a closed hexagon of beams. And in this hexagon we can create different geometric shapes. You can see them represented in the icons. TLT supplied a lot of the lights and built everything in here. They were a great help. Amazing partner to have on this project because they also were interested not just in the location but also in creating this art and using the time, because just like us, they miss this. They miss the feeling of creation and the feeling of building, and it was great to have them on board. There was definitely some things I had in mind. I needed beams, and I wanted some linear LED stuff. And it was a combination of seeing what Lars and TLT, which is also their technical partner, which Lars is involved with, seeing what they had available. And then I talked to ROBE, who's also been a very good friend and a good company in these times. And they sponsored a lot of equipment as well. They sponsored also a bunch of MegaPointes and some Tetra bars. We had basically from TLT and ROBE everything we needed except for 2 MegaPointes, which we then got from Friedrichstadt-Palast. They were also kind enough to help us out with 2 MegaPointes. Tetras are monsters. They are crazy. I mean, I was actually shocked at how bright they were. We have to use them here in the stream at only a few % of what they can. But they're very, very nice. I like this wall of light they create is very impressive. They're very big, but they're very powerful. So I'm impressed with them so far, definitely. We also use the flower effect in the stream, which is a cool new innovation from ROBE to have a flower effect in this linear bar. So we have 2 rows of MegaPointes on the floor, 2 in the ceiling. They're exactly the same distance away from each other. And then in the middle we have pointies, normal pointies. They're both hung on the sides, up and down. And it's exactly 4 meters from the pointy to the MegaPointe on top and bottom. That's what we need to make these geometrical forms possible, is have precise distance between the lamps. From TLT there is also a bunch of LED powers installed in every column. From Lars we have the screen elements on every column. We have a 12mm screen. And then all the way in the back of the room we have the Tetra bars. There's 7 each side vertically, and then 1 column of 10mm screen in the middle. So it's not that much, but it makes a really, really complete package here as we are working perfectly with the space. It's completely different when you're walking through it than it is from the screen. It's a very, very different feeling. I would love it if people could come and visit this. That's the best thing we could hope for, is people come and walk through this space. Not possible now. So with interaction is the closest we can get to having people visit the space. Yeah, so the most important thing was definitely the spacing. Once we figured out the spacing, it was, we actually moved the entire installation further in the hall, but it retained its purpose. It was, once we got the spacing down, it was, yeah, it made a lot of sense. We were able to use a relatively small number of lights to have a big impact because the spacing was perfectly matched to the hall. That's true of a lot of installations. Once it's perfectly spaced, most of the work is done because everything you do looks good. Obviously, there's a huge delay between the user and the show. And if it's a real live thing, we have to figure out some way to compensate this delay. So that was the first thing that came to me when I was thinking about this is, okay, if we have a stream and we use only music changes to execute our commands in the stream, and then we show only on the stream where we are, then we eliminate this discrepancy between the user interface and the stream itself. So that means all the timing information is given over the stream. So what you do is you log in, you have this interface, you can choose, you see a timeline of what's coming up, and you can choose what's going to happen next. So that means whenever you choose something, it'll always be executed the next musical change. So everything stays in time, but it doesn't have to be direct. There's always going to be, from any kind of stream, between 2 and 20 seconds delay. There's nothing you can do about that. It's how it is. So it's the best possible solution at the moment is to have this musical change. There's a little bit of magic there, definitely. I can thank Matthias for this, and there's a lot of technology behind it. And yeah, that's the very simple explanation of it.
The big challenge is to solve the transitions from A to B, like when the user changes a look, and to make it work out from one look to the other. But the design philosophy that we had in this entire thing was like to pick up the room, the architecture of the room, and basically just support that. So therefore you're kind of a little bit limited in what you can like solve. The most important thing was that we have a design language, so everything is very, very straight and very geometrical, and we kind of keep it simple and support the lights in the formation. That was the visual task. A lot of things were created, and only like 10 things in the end we use for the entire installation. But it's always like this. I'm doing all the designs in Notch, so we did a couple of renderings, used the D3 software to visualize how it will look like video-wise. And later on it just has been Notch blocks that have already been put into Disguise to see like how it will fit to the installation, and he uses Synchronorm, or Depends-2 it's called. And so we could feed the rendered videos into Depends and see how it's gonna solve, and this is what we came up with. We are using Resolume for playing it out in the end, for mapping the stuff, and not just gonna create the generative graphics.
I've been working with Paul quite a few years. We were on tour together for ages, and Paul is someone who reaches a lot of people. He has a fan base who is completely, in Germany you'd say, übergreifend. Also, Paul understands music. He's doing it for ages, obviously. He's extremely professional. And so when we said, hey, we want something that needs a lot of changes, we need to have more changes than normal, we need a lot of up parts and down parts so we can execute these change commands. He understood completely, and he made this soundtrack, which is wonderful. We're not trying to provide a lighting console for people. We're trying to provide possibility for anybody who's interested in art and installation art to come online and say, okay, I like this color combination and I like this geometric combination. Which is very much a product of the time we're in now, the product of being in isolation, the product of Corona, the product of us not being able to perform what we want to do. I mean, this is basically, I think for most people who work in this industry, it's not just a job, this is our life. This is really what we are passionate about, is lighting and creating and show business. To be honest, this would never work in normal times. We are busy, we have to do, the hall is full of people, everyone has their jobs. This is really a product of now. This is an answer to the pandemic.